Alrighty. We are going to call this
Ozempic. Have you seen? There's like a, you know, the Oros ad, but there's one in the States now that literally, it's not quite
Really?
that. It's like that.
Oh, it's like Oros man, and then you have a skinny Oros man, and then you
it's a bunch of like faces, and they go like, Ozempic. It's really, anyway, Ozempic.
Alrighty. So we're going to make this brief because we
try and keep things brief.
We try to keep things brief,
Yes.
and then Garth talks. So Neil and I are completely not sold on it. So let's maybe see if we can convince you to convince us that we can maybe have a bit of a gap for this.
Let's first be very clear. I am neither pro Ozempic nor against Ozempic. Right, my stance is very Swiss on this matter. So I do think that there are good times to take it, and there are very not so good times to take it.
Like psilocybin.
Although psilocybin's all good.
Yeah. Client disclosure. That was very funny. They told me that 9 o'clock at night, they wanted to microdose and not so microdose, and then stayed up till 5 o'clock the next morning. So there's a good time and a bad time. So let's try and find out the good time to take Ozempic.
Okay, let's talk about what Ozempic is. Okay, Ozempic is a medicine. So it's a made in a lab, fake chemical that you then put into your body via injection once a week. So the Ozempic is actually not even the name. It's called semaglutide. Semaglutide is one of a class of drugs which are called GLP-1 agonists, which is glucagon-like peptide-1 agonists. Basically, in our body, we produce this glucagon-like peptide, and that peptide in our body makes us feel full. It tells our brain, I've had enough food, I don't need to eat. It also slows the passage of food through the gut. So if I eat something and I've got high levels of GLP-1, the food moves very slowly. So if I've eaten breakfast, I won't want to eat lunch at lunchtime because like, oh, no. Oh, no thanks, So those are the kind of two major effects. It does have other effects in the body, like it improves insulin sensitivity. It acts on the pancreas, and it also acts on the intestine itself. That'll become important later. So basically, you inject it once a week, if we're talking about Ozempic now, because there's also not just semaglutide, there's liraglutide, and there's a couple of others that are being now made to compete, because Ozempic has had the monopoly for a very long period of time. It used to be very expensive, like sort of 30, 40, 50,000 rand a month, depending on what you're taking, but it will come down, and we've seen a massive decrease in prices, and availability becomes more as generics become available. But if we're talking about Ozempic, semaglutide, you inject it once a week, and then that keeps you full for the week. That's the idea. So you're just less hungry. You don't have the cravings. You don't want to eat, because this GLP-1 acts on the brain and it acts on the gut to say, I have enough. I don't need more food.
That dosage increases weekly, though, doesn't it? Like to a point.
Yeah, it does. So this is almost with anything. Same caffeine, be the same. Like you build a tolerance to pretty much anything. It doesn't have to increase, but to get the same effects, yes, you'll have to.
Okay, so let's try to talk about, we've got someone that's going to benefit from this drug. Okay, so we've got someone that's overweight,
yes,
and they are struggling because they want to eat everything the whole time. I can see this potentially working.
So, I mean, Ozempic is not actually a weight loss drug. It's a diabetes type 2 drug. So it was designed to get people from being a type 2 diabetic back to normal health. That's what it was designed for. And one of the side effects was weight loss. And if you are fat, your insulin sensitivity goes down. So if you are skinnier, your insulin sensitivity improves, which is the problem with type 2 diabetes. So it wasn't even designed for fat loss. This is a side effect. And now people are seeing that this can be used, and there's lots of benefit. And the reason we're seeing this is because people are fat. Like that's just, I think it's something like 60% of Americans are now classified as overweight. So BMI of over 25, which is a lot. It's like you, and then I would be healthy in every single room in America, which is crazy. So there is a massive need. And I think the reason that, so Ozempic is now on track to be the #1 grossing drug of all time. So the drug that has made the pharmaceutical industry the most money of all time. Like, this is in a world where HIV exists and TB exists and malaria exists
for years, for a long time. Yeah.
And now, boom, this drug has come, and it's, I think, this within the year on track to be the number one grossing drug. So there's more than a small red flag being waved there. So pharmaceutical industry is benefiting massively from this. Why is it? Well, I think in general we can all agree humans have two basic requirements: it's to eat and to reproduce. That's kind of, so like this drug allows me to have my eating under control, and I can eat the right things, and I don't get fat, and thus I become more appealing to a potential partner, and I'm more able to reproduce. So it attacks two very basic needs of humanity. So it was always going to do well. So basically, what it does is it makes you not want to eat. The problem we have with this is caloric restriction is not necessarily created equal across all fronts. So the amount of protein that you will now consume will go down, and the amount of muscle mass you will lose because of that will be significant. Insulin is also a very anabolic hormone. So when you consume a carbohydrate, your body releases insulin. That's not only for fat storage. That's for muscle recovery, muscle building, brain health. It's not a bad thing. Insulin is not a bad thing. Uncontrolled insulin is a bad thing, but insulin itself is very necessary to human health. So we're starting to get less and less of the sort of normal effects on life. So let's say we've got a big fat person, all right? Because the question now becomes is Ozempic dangerous? Can I take it? Is it risky? I mean, for you to drive here today was dangerous.
With Neil especially. Yeah.
Neil was driving. Was Neil driving? Sure. So that was a risk. You know what I mean? But you got to see me. So the benefits way outweighed the risks. So if we're looking at Ozempic, we're looking at there are risks, and we'll go into the risks a little bit later, but you've got these people who are dying. They are too fat and they are dying, and they're going to get heart disease, and they're going to have brain problems, as we discussed in the previous podcast. They are passing on bad habits to their children and potentially their children's children. And it's a bad situation. For those people to go on to something like Ozempic, to be able to kick a habit, to see themselves in a light of, hey, I actually look and feel much better. I would like to start getting healthy. And then they get off the Ozempic, and then they continue a calorie-restricted, fitness-based lifestyle. Like, there is no lose there. That's a huge one. And we don't really have any other drugs that can do that. You know, even if you're looking at the bodybuilding world of like clenbuterol and albuterol and ephedrine, like those are massively risky drugs to be taking for very little payoff. It's almost no payoff. But now we've got this drug that has seemingly very low side effect profiles with huge payoff for weight loss. It's not like try Ozempic and see if it works for you. It's like you're going to lose like 20 kilograms. Like it works.
So that's where we discussed a little bit further, because I mean, we then had a chat. They say like, okay, let's maybe have a look at, we've got a couple of clients that could maybe benefit from it. Who's the client that you wouldn't give it to? Is the person that just wants that little bit of extra quick fix, you know, like they're not actually that far off. They're not obese. They're not insulin resistant. You know, those are the guys that we don't want to take it. You know, those are the guys you want to slap around the back of the ear and be like, just tidy this up, just tidy that up, you know?
Yeah, you don't want the Band-Aid person who's just going because, I'm going to take this so I can still have my cake and not pack it away. You know, this type of thing is always going to be there for abuse. The other thing is, you know, how easy is it for you to just stop taking it once you've started? You know, so if you stop and your lifestyle has not changed, you will put that weight back on immediately. It's going to come back on, probably go even further past, because you might have slowed your metabolism down because you've lost muscle mass. Your body's now not used to processing food and that sort of volume, whatever. And as your appetite increases again, you're going to put weight on fast. You know, so if you are not managing or going into a management program in terms of getting yourself back to a baseline on your metabolism, you're going to have other problems to sort of deal with. And that's going to be the key for a lot of people. So you're either going to be on Ozempic for life, or you coming off it, but you're going to need to manage how you're getting off that drug.
So Neil mentions there that you're going to be on it for a longer period of time.
So it's marketed as a full life drug.
What's the downside?
You're not supposed to do this for a short period of time.
Okay, but what's the downside then? Because we completely on it. If you say this is a 12-week outset, like 12 weeks, we're going to let you drop weight, and then we're going to wean you off it again to make sure that you're back on track. How long can you go on it that you would be then like, okay, guys, listen, now we're talking about too long. These are the side effects. What are those side effects and periods like that we know of?
So there's always like side effects and then like lethal side effects. Like what? So the ones that are going to kill you, and bear in mind that a statistical significance is 5%. So if we say we've got this group and their not getting the drug, and we've got this group and they are getting the drug. If this group has an increase of 5% of whichever disease is now present, we say that is a significant increase, 5%. Pancreatitis increased in the semaglutide group by 450%. Pancreatitis can kill you. It doesn't necessarily kill you, but
Why does that happen?
it's deadly lethal because GLP-1 agonist acts on the pancreas itself, and then the pancreas becomes inflamed and it stops working and you die.
Can you take something with that then to prevent that?
No.
So if you're taking semaglutide, can you eat a certain diet or...
No,
Okay.
the drug itself will affect the pancreas.
Okay.
And my understanding is pancreatitis is also extremely painful and
It's very
uncomfortable.
painful, yeah. And even if you do survive, you never have perfect pancreatic function again, and your pancreas is responsible for insulin secretion and natural GLP-1 secretion. So it's like...
So I come to you, I'm way overweight, and I'm like, Benzo, I want to do this now. I need that kickstart. I go for bloods and I check
your pancreas
markers.
working.
Okay,
A-OK.
first. So before you even look at it, you should check your pancreas.
If you've got a dodgy pancreas, don't go into this.
Okay, so before people are going to take this, they have to come and see a doctor, see you, and you do blood work and check your pancreas.
So, yes.
If my pancreas is good, how often do I need to check my bloods to make sure that it's not...
So if you're going on lifelong, we'll probably do every 3 to 6 months. It'll depend. So initially you'll do bloods more often just to make sure you're fine. And then if you are fine, we can go to sort of 6 monthly bloods.
What else?
Other things you can worry about. So there's this very interesting thing where the colon itself, you get what's called a physiological obstruction. So obstructive bowel disease is a very, very serious thing where your bowel twists on itself or something blocks the bowel and then you can no longer pass food. Eventually you'll just keep filling and it will explode and you will die. You can get what's called a physiological bowel obstruction, which means so food moves through the body via a process of peristalsis, which is I eat the food and then the gut contracts and then the next bit of gut contracts and the next bit contracts until it pushes the food all the way through. There will become a section of bowel which becomes paralyzed. So you get a bowel obstruction not because there's anything obstructing it, but it's just not moving. And we've seen an 830% increase in physiological bowel obstruction in the semaglutide group. That's monstrous. If we're keeping around 5% is a significant change, that's a lot. And that's, again, a life-threatening problem that can arise.
Okay, and we can't check that. You can't check that
You don't know if that's going to happen. So
I think that's how Elvis Presley died, or they say he died. He died from a old shit.
No, I don't know if you've watched the movie, Garth, but there's a very nice movie on this you can watch called Elvis.
I haven't seen it, but
I think you might have that one a bit backwards, but it's possible.
Because they say he overdosed, but I think they found an old shit in it, didn't they?
An old hot dog.
I think so. I'm going to go check that.
Okay, so then
what else? So that's pretty severe.
Okay,
so now you've got me
So
not taking this
I
drug.
don't want to paint this in a bad light because there are applications for this drug, but the less severe side effects is muscle wasting. When you're eating a calorie-restricted diet, two things happen. One, you're just ingesting less protein. So generally, you eat less chicken because you don't want to eat. That's simple.
And you're going to be put off by foods that we should be eating, I can imagine. Like if I don't want to eat, I'm not going to be like, oh, I want to go eat a...
Exactly.
I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to snack on
healthy
sugar.
foods keep you fuller for longer.
No.
Now you're doing something that's already keeping you fuller for longer. And you're just like, actually, I just want something that's going to not make me that full.
Just snack on this.
Exactly. What's a nice snack?
So you're pushing a bad habit.
A little milkshake that's not going to fill you up, but packing 1,000 calories is also something easy.
But I mean, like, it's so there's that. So you're now ingesting less protein. When you're looking at ingesting less calories, so not just protein, but now a caloric deficit overall, your body goes into catabolism. So your body starts to break down fat to be able to feed your body. Your body will also break down muscle to be able to feed your body if you are in a severe enough caloric restriction. So now you've got sort of this two-edged sword of I'm having no protein, so my muscles are being broken down. I'm also having way too few calories in my day, so my body is going to be detracting from my muscle. And we know that muscle mass is the number one predictor of long-term health. The number one. So basically what you're saying is...
And fat loss. If I've got more muscle, I'm able to burn more, I'm able to do more, and I'm going to then have a better fat loss,
yes. So we need muscle. We know we need muscle. So now we're losing muscle, and this is generally, unfortunately, happening in the, if I can say, young age group, the 20 to 50-year-old, where people want to be looking good and what. And that's the time of your life. You actually need to be acquiring as much muscle mass as you can before sarcopenia starts to set in and you get this age decline, loss of muscle. So now we're heading this way. Look, we haven't had it for long. We don't know. So we're heading this way of getting to a point of where we're 40, 50 years old and we have less muscle and then we're going to die earlier or have a much less healthy old age. So those are the risks we're running there. The other thing is when you stop, should you choose to stop the Ozempic, now you've got less muscle mass, your BMR is way down. Now your hunger goes back up. So something's happened here where your BMR is way less, your insulin sensitivity is way less. Yes, way less. And now you just get fat. So now you struggle to build more muscle and you gain fat more easily than if you had ever touched the drug before. So it's a very dangerous thing to stop. Now, what you can do is you can have someone on Ozempic for 12 weeks and you force feed them protein for 12 weeks. They can do very well, very well. It's not to say that you can't.
And you probably have to push resistance training as well.
Resistance training and also, in general, anabolic hormones. So if in an ideal world, you would run TRT with a man to make sure, because with caloric restriction, testosterone is going to drop, which is going to decrease muscle mass. So now we're adding all of these things. If you could just eat, sleep, and train, you would have been fine. You know what I mean?
And bone density would probably become an issue at the same time. Bone density
becomes a massive problem.
You're also not going to have energy and actually feel like going to the gym, which would be another issue.
Yes.
Would there also be brain function potentially, because now your brain is also deprived of nutrients and whatever else?
Everything. Sexual reproduction will go down. It'll become more difficult to have adequate erections. Reproductive ability goes down both in men and women with caloric restrictions. See this.
So
it's not perfect. It can be used well, absolutely. If you've got someone who is massively overweight, they're going to have all of the problems I've just listed anyway, and more. And they're setting an example for generations to come. So if this is something that we can maybe replace gastric bypass surgery with for 12-week course of this, and you're starting this resistance training program, we're monitoring via a DEXA scan how things are going. You're eating this very high, not calorie, but high protein density diet, that you're able to maintain these other things. Yes, absolutely. This can be used very well and very safely, and I see massive benefit from it.
Yeah, so I think it's got to be a very strict protocol. So this is, again, the discussion that I had with the doctor that I know they work for a company, I think, that's making the semaglutide now locally. And when they did this course and they're a doctor, they were doing it for themselves. Great weight loss, but great muscle mass loss. And I just am against it again, because now they're not eating a strict diet. They're not doing those things. So I would be comfortable then saying, okay, cool. This other client that I've got, 194 kilograms, hasn't been back to training. I think he just doesn't want to get there because he feels ashamed, and it's a very big goal for him to do. I think he would be keen for this. But then there's got to be a very strict protocol, and that protocol has got to be put together by the three of us to make sure that we're not missing anything.
100%.
And then you've got to go add the financial side to it. Now I've got to make sure that I'm getting the protein in. What protein? I would maybe recommend like a collagen, because then you can just add it into whatever liquid you put in anyway to make sure that you can actually get a decent amount in. And then there's so many other things to follow that this is going to be an expensive little 12 weeks. You know,
yes.
It's going to add up.
And remembering potentially might be lifelong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the lifelong thing is actually the scariest.
It is.
Especially when it comes to, like, I know it's been FDA approved to be used in youngsters in the States. Like, how do you go put a 12 or 13-year-old on this? They don't understand the consequence. It's almost like the lying for the sex changes at that age. They don't even know the consequences of this going forward. But as a pharmaceutical agency, I'm going, hallelujah, yeah, I've got a patient for life potentially who's going to be paying
much
me.
earlier.
He's starting much earlier.
Not only, it's double the income. You'll literally double it, because you're not starting at the back end of their life. You get
and then
we're
besides
finding
this,
kids that are under 10 years old that are big enough to be candidates for this.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a 60.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
If they get to 60, that's a 60-year client.
Yeah. Then you can understand why this is going to become the most profitable drug ever made.
Yeah. And then at the same time, what other drugs are they going to need to by the time they get to that age? Because now you've potentially trashed certain organs and whatever. Like, obviously for right now, the drug isn't perfect. There might be different versions that come out and things are able to change as that sort of changes. And yeah, there's potential huge benefits for correcting certain people who are on a course to potentially die anyway. but people have to be aware of the consequences of this and look at it from an individual perspective in terms of also and I think age is a massive factor in that, in terms of what you can sustain. I mean, let's say you're on this and now life is good, all of a sudden you can't get a hold of it. What are you potentially looking at?
So that's the thing at the end of the day, and I'm going to just still go again back to where my gut lies, and my gut says rather just do it the natural way and get that person to get a wake-up call and be like, listen, I understand that you feel bad. I understand that you feel fat. I understand that you don't want to be in public doing this. I understand that, you've got all these things going like against you, that you just want that head start. I still can't see the clear line of this is the better way to go than to just have a hard, conversation with this person, be like, but this is the better way.
There are some people who, regardless of hard conversations, so I have an uncle who was just, he's a big boy. He's like 6'7", I think, 6'7", but massively overweight. And eventually he ended up having gastric bypass surgery. Pretty cool guy, pretty militant, very disciplined with business. And he just wasn't mentally strong enough to say no to the food. He would just eat anything that existed. If it was in the house, tomorrow it wasn't going to be in the house. He just ate everything. And I think that was, no matter how much we tried to motivate him, he just couldn't. And eventually got the gastric bypass surgery, and he is now much healthier for it.
So do you think the gastric bypass is maybe a better option then?
Surgery is very risky. I don't like gastric bypass surgery, personally. I think that semaglutide is a step in the right direction as far as that goes.
Okay.
My issue would be also when it comes to social acceptance, where it just becomes another thing in people's toolbox, and you got people going, oh, I need to get ready for this wedding, or summer's around the corner, and then they want to try to take the stuff. And
so I would say 90% of my patients are those patients asking for it. Is that,
and that becomes abuse, and that's going to have side effects that you might regret. And that would be my biggest concern for most people, those guys who are seriously obese or have that serious food addiction. I can validate taking those risks, but for that person who just wants to fit in a dress for an event or look better on the beach that summer, this is definitely,
it's not where you should be headed.
Where you want to be looking.
100%.
Well, I've got the perfect client for it. So, I'm going to chat to him and see if he wants to take this step and see if it's up to him. Because at the end of the day, Tim, I'm going to give him choice. I'm going to be like, dude, we've been discussing losing weight for a couple of months now. He now hasn't been back at the gym for 4 weeks, guaranteed not on any track to going anywhere. So, it's an option,
It is, yeah. It would be nice. It would be quite cool if we could do a study with tons of people and just get them all to do their in-bodies as we go and just see what is actually happening. You must remember, everything we report is what we read. I've never taken it. I don't know what it's going, you know what I mean? So you don't know who's publishing these reports. We don't know. Yeah. So we do our best with the information we've got, but it would be nice to have our own little internal study going.
Because the guys will go do it elsewhere. So again, we've spoken about the TRT, if you want to do something, see a professional. Come and see you, discuss with us on our platform.
So you also don't want to be
TRT one, Neil got hit up by a couple of guys that are, hey man, what's happening? How do we do this? Cool. If you've been doing it regardless anyway, come and see you, because we can do it better. Like you're saying now, the person's going to take it, then they can come to you, get their pancreas checked. Then at least we know they're doing it safely. At the end of the day, it's their call to be doing it or not. I'm sitting here healthy, you sitting healthy, you sitting healthy. All we're trying to do is give you the best information to do this better.
So exactly. So which is why I said in the beginning, I'm not pro and I'm not against. I don't want to be a dick to anyone who wants to take ozempic. It's your body, whatever. But understanding what the pros and cons are and what it's going to lead to long term, and understanding that I don't have to give it to you. If you come to me and say, I want to get skinny, I would like ozempic, and I say no,
you're going to get it somewhere else.
You can go get it somewhere else. And I'm saying no in your best interest. I can make more money if I say yes. But if you should be looking to partner someone with regards to your health in the long term, who's going to see you through to being a functional 90-year-old. That's what you should be looking at, not who's going to get you skinny for this wedding.
Okay. Anything else?
No. A story will unfold before us.
It's an interesting track. We're going to learn.
I'm going to jump on to the guys that I know that are selling it and making money off it, speak to them more, and maybe try and get them to do a little bit of a chat with us.
Yeah.
and just see where their positives are because they're going to be pro, and then maybe
Positives on the bank.
get one of the two of the clients that we know that are on it or
Positives
using
in
it
the share price. Go buy some now.
to do in bodies and see that their muscle mass stays. See that they don't get a bad pancreas and see that they can still pass some shits and see that there's a positive. And if we can prove that there's a positive, then why not?
Yeah, I
to
believe
help people.
there can be massive positives.
I mean, I don't want to have someone dying from diabetes or having limbs taken off or losing eyesight or all these things that we hear of that I wouldn't want those. So why not then try and motivate someone to do this?
Agreed.
Yeah. Alrighty. Lekker.
Cool.